Hey yo guys, what's up and welcome back to Toe Tags Metal Reviews, and today we're getting our first impressions of the new releases from Severe Torture, Evergrey, and Immortal Disfigurement. So we got 3 albums to cover today, and I'm just gonna, get started with what I started my day with, and that is Torn from the Jaws of Death by Severe Torture. Now before I get right into it, I made a mistake. It's not a big mistake, but it's a mistake. And that is that there's another band that I thought this band was. So when I saw this band, Severe Torture, is releasing an album, I went, oh man, I like those guys, that's awesome, they got an album coming out. And it comes out, and I listen to it, and I'm like, oh, that's great. And then I thought to myself, there was a song of theirs I saved on my playlist like a year ago, and I went to find it, and it was Torture Killer. Severe Torture, Torture Killer. So I got the name mixed up, but that is what it is. So Torture Killer is a different band, same death metal, a little bit more groove orientated, but completely different thing.
It wouldn't be the first time that you found a band to cover on the channel by accident.
Yeah. So either way, I got the band wrong, so we're covering this because of that, essentially. Either way, I thought this album was actually pretty damn good. It is, pretty straightforward-ish death metal, but I think there's more to it than just kind of average basic stuff. And, it's mostly due to the cool riffs that stand out, or the groove sections here or there, or songs like the title track switching bars from 5/8 to 6/8.
Well, that's how you know like a death metal album is good, because a lot of them, even ones that are serviceable, are ones that are just straightforward, but if you can find either strong enough riffs that always stand out or cool little things like that, that's how you know it's
a lot.
A strong in its genre.
Exactly. So a couple songs that stood out to me on this one were Those Who Wished Me Dead has a really nice drum fill in the intro. I thought that was really awesome. The song's cool. You caught that too?
Yeah, I remember that. That was a cool drum roll there.
The title track's really cool. Actually, the first like 4 tracks are actually all really strong. The Pinnacle of Suffering, which is track 7, that one was badass. And the outro track, Tear All the Flesh Off the Earth, I thought was really good as an outro. And the outro of that song was also really cool. It has a nice, steady double bass beat with some simple leads playing over top of it, and it just fades out on that.
Yeah.
Just overall, I thought it was a really cool, solid album, and I went into it thinking this might have a few riffs here and there that were impressive, but I actually just really enjoyed the whole thing cover to cover. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I agree with that last section of Tear All the Flesh Off the Earth. That is a cool way to end the album. I think it's a smart way to end the album, especially if you're gonna have a death metal album, which those can get stagnant. Mm-hmm. So when you do stuff like that, you're flexing, the creative juices there, and it's cool when they do that. I went into this blind, never heard of this band before you mentioned, hey, they're dropping an album. I'll be like, okay, I don't know who that is. Let's check it out. This is not off topic, but when I looked at this album art, it reminded me of like an X-ray move from Mortal Kombat.
I love this album art. It's so sick.
It is really cool.
It's so sick.
The more I looked at it, the more I realized this is actually really cool. The spine goes up onto the skull.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, that's kind of cool, but does it make sense when I say it looks like an X-ray move?
I can see where you're getting that from, yeah.
Like where it kind of looks like, you see the red, it looks like someone just broke this guy's spine or something.
Yeah. No, I definitely see where you're coming from. I love the album art of this album. It's so awesome.
Pretty cool. The guitar solo in The Death of Everything, I thought that was pretty neat, and had a neat transition from that into Marked by Blood and Darkness with the quiet guitar, which I thought was nice. One thing I found was funny, in the song Hogtied in Rope, the blast beats in the middle are cool, but it feels like with this song, the drummer is showing every possible groove that works with this riff.
Yeah.
Like he's doing like something slow, something fast, like constantly mixing it up.
Switching it up.
And the guitars aren't changing. And I thought that was really cool that you're kind of getting this drum feature changing the feel because of, the backbone that the drums provide. I thought that was pretty cool, but I also kind of thought it was funny that he's like, okay, I got all these different ideas for grooves I can do here. Why not do all of them?
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty cool. The riffs in the title track, guitar-wise, kind of reminded me a little bit of something that I'd hear from Cannibal Corpse, which is pretty cool that, I like that, just like this one track kind of reminded me of that,
Yeah.
Like this one kind of taps into that, but it's not like the whole album does. But overall, like it kind of felt like just a straight up good death metal album. Nothing like overly exceptional, but there is some cool stuff to take away from it. So it was pretty good, but nothing like mind blowing for me.
Yeah, you make a good call on the Cannibal Corpse. I did get reminded of Cannibal Corpse a few times. I also got reminded of Deicide a little bit. Also Bloodbath. Like, you know, when you listen to an album like this, they're all genre buddies, right? So it's hard to not get reminded of other things. But yeah, it's a fun album anyway. On to the next one to discuss, and that's Theories of Emptiness by Evergrey. So I believe this is our first time covering Evergrey on the channel. They've been around for a while. I've heard this band before. I'm not new to them, but I've never, you know, jumped into them, that whole thing. But yesterday I decided, you know, just to kind of prep for this, I'm going to listen to a couple of their older albums and just kind of get a feel for the sound of the band and what they bring to the table. So I don't even know which albums I listened to, honestly. I went on Spotify, typed the name and then just clicked an album, listened to it, clicked another one, listened to it. They were good. I was like, holy crap, solid band. This is awesome. I'm looking forward to this new album. Let's get into it. So I start listening to the album and it starts off pretty damn strong. Liking what I'm hearing. I like how melodic it is. I like the guitar solos are just hitting the right spots. And vocally, it's all clean vocals, but it's very melodic, very nice vocals, lots of harmonizations, lots of intonation, lots of really cool stuff. And the guy's got a really, really nice voice. There might be multiple singers too. I'm not exactly sure who all does vocals in the band, but I was really attracted to the vocals. Really well done. So we get through tracks 1, 2, 3, 4. Everything's going good. Track 5 hits and it's a ballad. I'm like, oh, cool, nice, a nice ballad. This is well performed. Nice placement on the album. There's 11 tracks. This is almost right in the middle at track number 5. I'm like, wow, these guys are really nailing it here. Then after that, things start slipping for me. And I'm not sure what's exactly happening, but track 6 through 11, I'm just not feeling it anymore. I'm like, what the heck's going on here? So I think what might have been happening is perhaps they kind of blew their load too early, in a sense, or maybe the songs are just not different enough from each other, so the point where like you listen to the first 4 or 5 songs and you kind of get everything you're gonna get, and after that it's just more of the same. But what I ended up doing is I went and listened to some other stuff, some other new releases throughout the day, and then I came back to this, but started it in the middle and tried that, and it was a lot better. So I think this album might have a little bit of a fatigue factor thing on it where, like I said, the songs are not quite diverse enough from each other to the point where listening to it all at once, it's nearly an hour long, 51 minutes, might start getting a little bit boring, but if you listen to it in sections or chunks, it's a lot more digestible that way. Because when I listened to the second half afterwards, I picked up a couple things, like track number 7, I thought was really good. It has some nice gang vocals in it, which I always like, which is, you know, that makes it like a crowd-pleasing song. Really like the solo on that one. And track number 8, The Night Within, really like the hook on this one. It's got nice intonation of the vocals, and the way that the harmonized vocals just come in at certain points was something that was really tastefully done. So there's highlights in the second half, but on my first listen, that was all washed away for some reason. So it's a little bit concerning, but overall I thought it was still a good album, solid. It's pretty accessible. I don't want to say it sounds poppy, but I guess for a lack of a better term, it's poppy kind of metal because it's very almost radio friendly in a sense. So it might not be everybody's cup of tea. You don't get tea in a bag of milk. We're Canadian. Yeah, so.
This is not wrong.
Yeah, our milk comes in a bag. Depends where you live, actually. But anyways, yeah, so overall pretty good, but I'm curious to know what TV Fish thinks, so.
Well, I will say it's interesting that, you know, you said that, oh, it was kind of different on the second listen, but that's pretty much the foundation of our channel, right? Like, it's your first listen and your first impression was one thing, and then immediately upon listening again, you started to gain a different perspective on it. And that's exactly why we do what we do, because of that exact thing.
Yeah.
I feel like I've heard this band before. I mean, it's the kind of prog metal that, you know, I would have checked out when I was first getting into all that.
They've been around for a while, so.
And I even looked, and it's like Spotify told me I had a bunch of their albums saved, so I'm like, okay, I guess I've probably heard them before. But Early on, I'm noting that it wastes no time getting into the jam, like immediately on album start, which I thought was pretty cool. Misfortune was a really cool song. The verse is really nice with the bass that it's got. It's pretty, but it's got a bite to it. The gang vocals in the chorus is cool too. Low key, this might be a stretch, but in some aspects, maybe the fact that it kind of like starts and then has kind of this quiet verse kind of reminded me a little bit of Hypnosis by Sleep Token. A bit, kind of. It's a pretty loose comparison, but that's just what came into my head. Which, I mean, that song's amazing, so like, that's a good comparison. But another riff I really liked was the one in To Become Someone Else. And I was just kind of finding myself like, wow, these songs are just overall really good. Like from that point in the album, like it's just, the riffs are good, it's interesting, it's something I'm just overall enjoying. Say has this really cool solo and then an awesome riff right afterwards. And then so I got to a point where I'm thinking, like, you know what? This kind of feels like Soilwork's little brother. Like, it kind of reminds me of, you know, we checked out Soilwork on this channel with Overgiven Hatin', which was a mind blower of an album. We got 2 toe tags, check out our review if you haven't. Yeah. It kind of reminds me of aspects of that album, but it's not as crazy. That album's crazy. It's got tons of stuff, intensity, just whoa. So it kind of feels like that, but like not as that, if that makes sense.
Like that toned down.
Yeah, a toned down version of Soilwork, which I guess is still a compliment because I'm comparing it to like a mind blower album. Yes. Like that was on both of our top 5s of that year. It was that
number
good.
1, I think.
It was like top 2.
It was my number 1.
It was top 2 for you. I know that.
Yeah.
So, but I, you know, regarding the second half, I kind of felt like it wasn't, songs weren't really gripping as hard as they did in the first half, but I only listened to it one time, and you already found changes with how you felt from a second listen. That's right. So I wouldn't be surprised if that exact same experience happened for me as well. Just adapting to it, getting more used to the pacing of the album and how it works, and then you start to realize, oh, these parts in the second half. The last song, I think it was A Theory of Emptiness, was pretty cool. It was kind of like this spoken word thing.
It started out like that, and then got more into the song.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty cool way to end it. It's 2 minutes, so it's almost kind of like an outro, just track. I like that. I actually thought it was pretty cool.
Yep.
So yeah.
Cool. So last but not least, King by Immortal Disfigurement, or maybe it is least. I don't know. So some controversy around this band. We're not going to get into all those, all that drama bullshit or whatever. We might actually get flack for even covering it because of that, and whatever, who cares? We reacted to King when it came out.
We also reacted to Force Fed.
Force Fed, that's right.
There's another one we reacted to, but I don't believe it's on this album.
Okay, yeah, so maybe it came out before they started recording it or something, I don't know. So when we reacted, we were kind of like, yeah, this sounds like Lorna Shore, like it is what it is, right? People argued with us, and no, it doesn't, no, it does. Like, and people agreed, and people argued, and it's split down the middle, right? But we feel how we feel. We think it sounds like Lorna Shore. So, that's not even a diss, right? We're not even saying that to be like, oh, that's a bad thing. It is what it is. But anyways, put this on, and yeah, that's immediately what I'm reminded of. The first track is the title track, which we have heard before, like I just mentioned, we reacted to it. But one thing I forgot was that he imitates a broken kitchen sink in this song, and we bursted out laughing during our reaction.
Right, yeah, the croquet. Broken kitchen sink, what?
It just sounds like a kitchen sink that's just gurgling, like, I don't know.
I believe when we reacted, I said it was a frog croaking. That's it. That's pretty much it. And I think there was someone that said, oh, he's doing that as a joke. Then it's a great joke.
It's a great joke.
If it's not a joke, then it's like, what the hell?
But that aside, CJ's actually got some stellar vocals on this album. He does a lot of really cool things. And for people, there's a lot of people out there that really like the deathcore vocal and really like guys that do all sorts of weird twisty things with their vocal cords and things. There's a lot of that on this album, so I think that's going to please a lot of people. We're not particularly impressed by that too much, so for us it's just like,
at this point,
it's fine. Yeah, at this point, it's just like, it's fine, it's cool, whatever, it's been done before, or whatever.
That's kind of like a part of the issue, is that there's a lot of deathcore vocalists that keep trying to do these crazy vocal gymnastics to try to like do the craziest and one-up people and whatever. Yeah. And it gets to a point where either it starts to sound comical, like the frog croaking thing, or it's just like, you've heard so much of this kind of thing, it's hard to be impressed anymore. Even though you could comment, and I will say, yeah, he's a talented vocalist.
Yep.
For deathcore vocals, he sounds great. But like, it's not like I'm getting my mind blown like it's as if I haven't heard this stuff before.
Yeah.
We've heard this stuff before when we covered Immortal, the album, from Lorna Shore, which had CJ on it.
That's right.
And we thought, wow, he sounds great. Yeah, he still sounds like CJ. Like,
it's kind of the same thing with breakdowns too, if you think about it. Like, how brutal can breakdowns get? They've already gotten as brutal as they're gonna get.
We gotta break down the breakdown. We gotta slow it down.
Get the most brutal in there, and it's whatever. So, anyways, listen to this album, and there's one giant glaring issue that I'm sure TV Fish is going to talk about as well, because it's something that you probably cannot miss, and that's the mix on this album. It is atrocious. It's so bad, and there's just it's unacceptable, really. Like, I don't know who mixed it or who produced it or who mastered it or whatever you want to say, but there's things like, you know, you have like, I guess you'd call it like a bass drop or something where like it's supposed to be like kind of thing.
Yeah.
That happens a lot on this album. I mean, it's common in deathcore, but every time it happens in this album, it sounds like swampy fucking milk ass nasty shit. It's so muddy. It's so muffled. It sounds like shit. And I listened to it on different speakers just to make sure it wasn't just my speakers acting up, and it's just garbage. And I don't know how it passed. I don't know how they got it through and published it on Spotify. It's not, I mean, it's something they could fix.
Well, from my understanding, I think it kind of plays into a little bit of the drama where like the guy who did the mixing left the band and had all the masters or something, and then maybe something had to get redone.
Possibly.
I don't know. It's kind of a mess in terms of that regard.
Yeah.
I agree about the mix, but you know, there was one specific one where it kind of sounded like I totally felt like they're gonna hit on this downbeat, and it just sounded muddy.
Yeah.
You know? But there was a specific part at the 1 minute 20-second mark of Showcase of Phlegm. I thought, I'm like, is this clipping? Like, it sounds like it's kind of ripping apart almost. So I actually talked to a buddy of mine who knows a lot about this stuff, and he said it sounds like, in his words, a frequency interpolation issue, where it's like the frequency of the low and middle end are kind of contrasting against each other, thus sounding like it's distorting and whatnot, which is a sign of poor engineering. The way he kind of put it is like if you dropped a rock into water and then waited a little bit and then dropped another rock into the water, the waves of the water are going to be kind of unbalanced and all over the place, out of sync with each other. Yeah. So that was his take on Hear That, because when I was listening, I asked him, like, yo man, check this out. And that's what he said, and I feel like that's kind of a consistent problem throughout the album. And that is one of the biggest things that hurts it. For me, though, at the same time, it does kind of feel like another symphonic deathcore album, and I feel like those are very common all over the place these days, and we've had that criticism on this channel about the genre being stagnant because a lot of the bands sound just like this. And we felt that way when we were reacting to it as well, like, this is nothing I haven't heard before.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, even if I put aside the bad mix and just listen to it for what it is, I still wasn't impressed. Like, yeah, you could say these musicians are great musicians. I don't want to take anything away from them. The vocalist CJ's got some chops, but this is just, I feel like this is just regurgitated music. And you know what? I people are going to be mad at this, but there's a few songs on here. One specifically, Painless Execution, which is track number 7. I feel like that could have been taken right off of Immortal, like the Lorna Shore album. So
there was actually another kind of like weird vocal thing on that track at the 141 mark. There was like a weird thing he did, and they kind of like pitch bent it, and it sounded really awkward. It kind of sounded to me like something you would do when you're making a YouTube poop video, like as a joke. Which, hey, if he did do that intentionally to be funny, then I guess it was pretty funny. But there was a few neat things that I kind of noted. One thing I kind of liked is actually the ending of the last track, Forevermore, where he's just screaming like "fuck," like he's like pissed. I kind of like that. It just sounds like just recorded straight from like a studio with nothing. Like he's just like fucking lost it. I kind of like that. You could even hear the click that he's practicing or singing to in the background. Like it's kind of like you pulled back all the curtains and it's just him there with just whatever's left of him. I kind of like that, and I feel like if the album was better, this would have been even cooler as an ending.
I like that too, but to me it didn't feel authentic. It felt like it was a planned part, an acted part. It didn't feel authentic to me. I could be wrong. I'm wrong about a lot of things, and that's fine. But I didn't get the sense that this was a guy who was really displaying an emotion in the studio.
Now, earlier on in the album, I was enjoying some aspects of it, and it's been a while since I've listened to this style of deathcore, so I'm just like, okay, yeah, this is fine. Like, this is, you know, it's fine kind of stuff. But as it kind of went on, I started to get a bit more upset listening to this album. Like, oh, this mix is really awkward. It's weird. The drums are kind of really forward. The vocals are even more forward, like over top of everything else and stuff like that. So it kind of took time for it to really kind of sink in on me that way. But at first, I didn't mind it as much. And I think a part of that is because I haven't listened to this style in a bit. But yeah, I wasn't really too fond of this album overall, unfortunately.
Well, it is what it is. Those are the 3 albums we covered, and we decided that Theories of Emptiness by Evergrey is our choice for review this week. So, yeah, like I mentioned earlier, I'm a bit nervous. I think there's a bit of a possible fatigue factor maybe on this album, but I'm also have a promising thought because I think that the vocals really carry this album far, and I think that it's very hooky, and I think there's a potential for these songs to really get under your skin in a good way. And, you know, be enjoyable, like ones that you're cranking up and belting the lyrics along with it. So, looking forward to that. Anyways, guys, that's it for this video. Be sure to leave your thoughts down below and let us know what you guys think of these 3 albums and maybe any other new releases that you checked out today. You can let us know if they're any good down below. Subscribe if you guys are new to the channel. I'm Vile Self.
I'm TV Fish.
I'll see you guys in the next one. Keep those heads banging.